Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Dillian Whyte has returned in Gibraltar with a forgettable performance against Ebenezeh Tetteh, getting a stoppage after 7 rounds when the Ghanaian quit. So he didn't want it anymore, taking quite a bit of punishment, but it was a very, very forgettable performance by Dillian Whyte, who came into this overweight. And even though he tried to spin a positive narrative after the fight saying he needed the rounds, this was not the statement that he needed. This actually confirmed that he shot to pieces. And I've been saying this for a few years. I mean, you just had to look at the performance against Tyson Fury in April 2022, 2.5 years ago. Shot to absolute pieces, washed to anything. And it was confirmed again. Remembering, Ebenezeh Tetteh 5 years ago fought Daniel Dubois and got blitzed in a round. And at times, he was eating Dillian Whyte's punches for fun, trying to walk through Whyte's shots, kept coming, pressing forward. He was having very little success overall, wildly swinging, but so too Whyte. Whyte was often very ineffective. He was off balance. He was out of shape. The highest weight that he's been for 5 years since another similar bad performance where he looked very, very bad against an average against Marius Vuk. Some people even thought that Vuk could have won that fight. I didn't think that, but it was an off night then, and so too this one. But I think it's a bit more than an off night. I think this is just Dillian Whyte and his current condition, his now natural state. He's removed from his prime. All the hard fights, all the hard sparring, it's caught up with him, and he is done like a dog's dinner. And I know that may hurt the feelings of some of Dillian Whyte's fans, but the body snatcher has been snatched by Father Time here because, look, if he fights anyone in the top 30 at this point, he's ripe for the picking. Dillian Whyte is there to be beaten and taken out. And we know right now, and possibly too, I mean, he's kind of been open about this, calling for big fights. Even after the fight, in a post-fight interview ringside, he was saying that he's still chasing an Anthony Joshua rematch, but we know why that one fell over. But he's just not going to get it. And with performances like this, the demand from fans is going to fall off as well. And at a certain point in his career, the way that he operated, being his own boss and having fight-by-fight deals, that worked for him. But at a certain point, it doesn't. And he's in that point right now because he's got no major promoter, basically advocating for him and trying to put him in big fights. He's on the outside looking in. After the fight, he was asked about Riyadh season. Would he want to be on one of those cards? He said, absolutely. But at the moment, and especially with performances like that, they must be looking at Dillian Whyte going, well, he's not the guy that he once was. Sure, there's a bit of name value there, but with every passing fight, and especially when they're on these smaller promotions, he's not putting in good performances. There's no statement made except a statement to say, look, I'm pretty washed and very beatable. It's not looking, the prospects for Dillian Whyte are not looking good. So he did say after the fight that he wanted to stay active and stay busy if he couldn't get the big fights. So that's kind of what he has to do, and I think he probably will continue to ply his trade on some of these smaller shows. This was a platform promotion that was out in Gibraltar. They also had Thomas Carty. He was also on the card. He was fighting Mikko Miladin. Miladin was down multiple times in that one. Forgettable fight for the fact that Miladin clearly didn't want to be there, and the referee could have stopped it because the body language was so bad from Miladin. He was waiting and almost begging the ref to call it off, but the referee didn't really seem to, get the hint. Anyway, so the less said about that fight, the better. But it's not much better for the main event because Dillian Whyte having a tune-up against the guy who was blitzed by Daniel Dubois in a round 5 years ago when he would have been better back then, it's not a good look. At one point, Adam Smith, who was on comms, was saying that Ebenezeh Tetteh was looking slow and ponderous, and I thought, well, so too is Dillian Whyte. Often off balance, wild and ragged after a couple of rounds. The mouth was open and he was breathing heavy. And the fact was, there was some shots occasionally from Tetteh that were finding the mark. Yeah, sure, it's a heavyweight fight, but Tetteh is absolute dross. This was meant to be, go in there and blow him out in a couple of rounds. That was, I think, the expectation of what probably good looked like. Sure, you can go in there and, try to put your punches together and get a little bit of action. But at times, Dillian Whyte was labouring. At times, he was getting pushed back. He was looking pretty average and completely washed. Where to for Dillian Whyte based off this sort of performance? I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, some people might make a counter argument and say, oh, well, he's been inactive and, he needed these rounds. He'll be sharper next time out, that sort of stuff. It's all going one way for Whyte at this point in his career. And I know someone might make the argument, oh, well, because he looks so poor, maybe that will actually get him on a card. But the thing is, Dillian Whyte, even as a B-side, is going to be wanting big money. And the thing is, his expectations of what he's worth versus his probable actual worth, they're probably poles apart in terms of the cash. Dillian Whyte's looking for a cash out, and he's probably not going to get the sort of money or offers that he believes that he deserves. He's still rated on BoxRec as number 15 in the world, but at this point, Dillian Whyte is absolute food. He really is. He is food with a capital F. The sharks are circling, and if he fights anyone halfway decent, he is going to get absolutely battered. So Dillian Whyte, he fights Ebenezeh Tetteh, but his stock goes down in my opinion. Thomas Carty, yeah, he looked okay, but the opponent didn't really want to be there. So, yeah, it was what it was. But not a good night for Dillian Whyte. And I know some of his fans are going to be up in arms and in hell about this, but, I got to say it how it is. Dillian Whyte absolutely, shot to pieces. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.